welcome in or welcome back, whichever one is appropriate for you in particular. It is the channel Inside Major League Baseball, episode number 2. Today we're going to be talking about trade, a big name, Tarik Skubal. As you know, the left-handed ace for the Detroit Tigers, in which if they have brains, which I surmise they do, or else they would not have those jobs, they will in fact trade him. And I understand they have won 6 or 7 games. But they are still 9 games under 500 as of recording this at 41-50. Still 5 games back of that final third wildcard spot, and to me that's completely immaterial. It would be absolutely malpractice if they don't move him for a litany of reasons. Let's just not even go that far into the annals, as they say. Let's go back to Shohei Ohtani's last season in LA with the Angels, right? They were hovering around 500, just as the Tigers are right now. In fact, you can say the Tigers are even in a more dire situation than the Angels were back then. The Angels had more talent, believe it or not, in my opinion, than I think the Tigers do in this present time. But Tarik Skubal is not going to resign. He has made it known, not outwardly. Obviously, he has not come out and say, "I'm not going to resign with the Tigers." No player is going to deplete his market like that and just rule out a team. But we all know his agent. Maybe you don't. I think Bobby does. But his agent is Scott Boras, and Scott is going to take the highest bid, even against his client's will sometimes, right? I know the agent obviously works for the player, but we've heard a number of instances where Scott just took the best offer. And we know the Tigers are not going to be in a position to give Tarik Skubal the most money. So with that said, he's gone. And in a position right now to have an ace on the market, as I alluded to last video, as I talked about immensely at length last video, there's a dearth of sellers right now. It is going to be a seller's market on August 3rd during this trade deadline because of the lack of sellers. Teams just think they are in it. Even the 9-game under 500 Detroit Tigers are quibbling with the decision of buying or selling, and that is just asinine, right? You are not a good team if you are 9 games under 500. And even if they were, even if you said, all right, even if you were to tell me that they are going to make the playoffs, they are going to sneak in one of those final wildcard spots, they're going to win 83 games. They're going to be 83-79. They're going to claim the second wildcard spot. Let's get outlandish here. Who cares? Are they going to win the World Series? No. Are they better than the Dodgers? No, they are not even close. Are they better than the Brewers? Are they better than the Phillies? All right, let's keep it in the AL, okay? Can they win the American League? Can they win the AL pennant? Are they better than the Rays? No. Are they better than the Yankees, even with their struggles right now? No. All right, so you made the playoffs. Now you're going to lose Tarik Skubal for a compensation pick for absolutely nothing. You're going to get nothing of return in tangible players. You can't do that. You can't do that. Look at the hole it's left the Angels when they could have traded Shohei Ohtani for a litany of prospects, completely replenished the system, and it would have portended phenomenal things for that system, for that team, for that franchise. And the GM Perry eventually got fired, and not because of that reason solely, but that was one of the reasons, because they didn't want to trade him. It makes no sense unless the Tigers were viable World Series contenders, somewhat like last year, as we thought they had potential to be. They were much better last year, obviously, as they are this year, than they are this year. You cannot let a talent like that just walk out the door and get nothing in return. It will set your franchise back years. It doesn't matter if you make the playoffs. So, as I lay that out, I'm assuming the Tigers are going to trade Tarik Skubal, because I think if I believe that, whoever I am, well, my name's Connor Martin, I know who I am, but if I know that, I know damn well that the Detroit Tigers front office knows that. So, 2 teams come to mind immediately. You're not. It's interesting, right? Because the market may not be as robust as you may think, just from the standpoint of teams not wanting to give such a hefty price to a rental. Like I thought about throwing the Rays in there, and they might, right? They might trade for him. I mean, obviously, but I just don't think I don't think that they'd be willing to just give up, say, 2 of their top 5 prospects for a guy. You know what? I'm kind of talking myself into it because they have a legit shot of winning this World Series, but I don't. They have no right. I mentioned the Rays because they have zero chance of re-signing him given their lack of resources, finances. But with how good they are, with how depleted the AL is in particular, other than the Dodgers, is there really maybe the Brewers? Is there really any team? Maybe the Phillies. Even that. I mean, is there really one team that you can say definitively is better than the Rays? So, all right. I omitted the Rays now that I'm thinking about it. Nonetheless, there's two teams, sans the Rays, that jump to mind immediately. Let's begin with the Yankees. And you may say the first thing is, well, the rotation doesn't need help. They have Cam Slittler. Garrett Cole is finally back. Yes, Max Fried is on the IL, but he's going to come back. They have Carlos Rodon. He's on the IL, but he's going to come back. Cam Slittler, Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, Max Fried. They have Ryan Weathers. They have Will Warren. Both of those guys, ERAs, hover around 4. Those are solid back end of the rotation guys. Yes. With that said, have you seen them hit? Because I have not. That was a rhetorical question. They do not hit. So, and with the lack of bats on the market, seemingly I thought Jordan potentially could have been on the market, but with the Astros climbing back into the race because of Jordan predominantly, I highly doubt they're going to trade Jordan. There's not a lot of bats out there. Ideally, there would be this big bat, specifically in the outfield, that they could plug in, or third base, catcher. Maybe they trade for Ryan Jeffers, the catcher from the Twins, but is he going to really move the needle that much? Probably. Tarik Skubal would vault them to AL favorites, in my opinion, supplanting the Rays for that notch. They would just win every game 2-1, 3-2, 4-1, right? If you're not going to be able to hit, which they have not been hitting the last 19 games, they are 4-15 the last 19 games. Just build a mammoth rotation. Another reason is the uncertain nature of next year, right? And you could look at that in two different ways. You could look at it in a doomsday way, is, hey, let's just hoard everybody because we don't know what's going to happen, so I don't want to give away my future because of the uncertainty. Or you can look at it and on the contrary and say there could be a 50-game season next year. There could be no season altogether. Why am I going to hold a George Lombard Jr., my top prospect, if by the time we next see him, it's 2 years from now, and we just lost the season because of the dooming CBA negotiations? I think it could put teams in mindsets of say fuck it, for lack of a better phrase, and relent on that one prospect that they otherwise would have wanted to hoard because of the uncertainty of next season. And you got to capitalize on the prime of Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole. It's a finite window right now. As you can see this year with Aaron Judge, his injury history it's not going to get any better, even if it continues the mash that he's been doing last 4 to 5 years. He's probably not going to play a whole lot of games. He's probably going to move to DH in the next couple of years. So capitalize when he's still at the peak of his powers. Same with Garrett Cole. Yes, they're the Yankees, probably going to be good for a long time, but with these guys in particular, they got to capitalize on their window. Weak AL, as I alluded to, obviously. It is there. If they trade for Tarik Skubal, in my opinion, as I said earlier, they're the class of the American League above the Rays. If the Yankees were in the NL, would I be so gung-ho on this opinion? Most likely not, because they would still not be better than the Dodgers and maybe even the Brewers. And another reason why you trade for players is to pry them from other teams, right? So if I mentioned Tampa, there's really hasn't been any rumors out there that I've seen linking Tampa to Tarik. But if they do jump into the fold, now obviously the Yankees get them and the Rays don't. So it's a win-win from that standpoint. Last reason, man, have you seen their top prospects? Have you seen any of them work out? Anthony Volpe, Jason Dominguez, Spencer Jones. The only top prospect, and that he wasn't even a top prospect, the only young guy that has performed well at the big league level for the New York Yankees in recent years is Cam Slittler. And he wasn't even a highly touted top prospect. They just stumbled upon him. They thought he was going to be a middling arm. He's obviously not that. He's much better. So maybe their talent evaluation, their drafting process, their developing process isn't very good. So if you hold George Lombard Jr. in such high regard, maybe he's not that good just because of your evaluation of players internally. So flip those guys. They may not be very good. I think you pounce on an opportunity like that because of all those reasons that I said. For you, get it. And listen, I just thought about this on the dome. Look at this. No, not even notes for this. They're probably going to be in the mix for him to sign him, right? They have so much money. They're the New York Yankees. I'm sure Tarik would love to be a part of that franchise. Get him in the building. Start the selling process early, as they kind of did with Juan Soto. As they, I think that was part of the logic as to why they traded for Juan Soto from the Padres, to get him in the building. They knew he was a free agent, obviously. They wanted him. They wanted to sign him long term. Get him in the buildings. Start selling him on the franchise. I don't know. It's an ancillary reason, at least, not a predominant reason, but nonetheless. I get they have been terrible offensively, and that is probably the strongest pushback, but if you prevent runs at an elite level, you only need to scratch out 2 to 3 runs. Maybe Ben Rice runs into one, as he did the other night, 3-run homer, and that's all you need. Tarik Skubal, Cam Slutler, Garrett Cole in a playoff series. Who wants? Max Fried isn't even making the rotation. Is he even the top 3? It's unbelievable. Who in their right mind would want to face the New York Yankees if they traded for Tarik Skubal? Team number 2. I alluded to them in my soliloquy on the Yankees a little bit earlier, the Milwaukee Brewers. And this team, to me, is very similar, if you guys remember, to 2024 Baltimore Orioles. They had a young core of position players that were just blossoming simultaneously together. And Gunnar Henderson, the shortstop, Adley Rutschman, the catcher, Jackson Holliday, a couple other guys that are escaping my mind right now. But they had a phenomenal offense, and they were lacking pitching. They decided to hold on to all their top prospects, Kobe Mayo, a couple other guys. Names are just escaping me right now. Nonetheless, they decided to hoard all their guys because they thought, hey, their window was going to be elongated. They didn't want to collapse that window by trading some of these guys because they didn't think that 2024 was their year. Well, look at what it's gotten them. They are under 500 this year. They had a dismal season last year. They had their chance in 2024. These windows that teams talk about, that franchises talk about, say, all right, in 2 years, we're going to go for it. 3 years, we're going to go for it. Not this year. It's a fallacy. It's a mistake. I think front offices are very smart, obviously. They know what they're doing. I think that is one of the logics. That is one of the thought process that is just, that makes no sense to me. You don't know. You may stumble upon a good year. You may have a terrible year that you didn't foresee. You can't just manufacture when you're going to win and when you're not. The Brewers are right there. Again, as I alluded to with the Yankees, with the bereft nature of the league, with it seemingly being wide open, same as the Dodgers, you're right there. They have the second most wins in all of baseball. They're second in strikeouts, first in ERA. Could you imagine if Tarik Skubal give up 1 run a game? They have a platoon at first base in Andrew Vaughn and Jake Bowers, who both have OPSs above 900. Just phenomenal. They're piecing this together as they always do. Christian Yelich, their prized best player, supposedly has an OPS of sub 700. And they're still winning at an elite level. And another reason is, they're kind of viewed like the Rays, right? They don't have any star power, other than Jackson Chourio and Christian Yelich prior to this year. They don't. They're starters. You want to call Miz a superstar? I'm not going to push back on that, but you know what I'm saying. They have a bunch of guys. You look at the lineup up and down 1 through 9. It's not. You're not seeing names the likes of the Los Angeles Dodgers or the New York Yankees, or even the Chicago Cubs with PCA and Bregman and Nico Horner. Is that ever going to end? Are they going to stop winning on the margins with all these ancillary pieces, all these guys that they just pick up on waivers, pick up in a innocuous trade, pick up some guy like Andrew Vaughn, right? They picked up on the scrap heap from the White Sox and turning into a cleanup hitter, superstar, just absolutely mashes lefties. Is that ever going to end? Are they going to miss on some of these guys? Are they going to have to start spending money? So capitalize if it does and trade for Tarik Skubal while you're in the midst of a phenomenal season. And on the contrary, if it's not going to end and you are going to continue to just find guys off the scrap heap that nobody else seems to want or like or know what to do with and turn them into superstars, if you're going to continue to do that, well, fuck the prospects. You can replace them. They're prospects to other teams, but they're not prospects to you because you find them to be replaceable. What's the difference between your second overall prospect and your 12th prospect? They're the same. You have guys producing that nobody, staunch fans of Major League Baseball has never even heard of. They're producing. Trevor McGill is the closer for the team with the second most wins. Who the hell has heard of him? So who cares who you give up? If you're able to get a known commodity in Tarik Skubal, make your CC Sabathia move of a decade ago. Have him go in 3 to 4 days rest. You're not re-signing him. Win a fucking World Series. Go for it. And if the guys you trade, if you know what the hell you're doing, you let David Stearns walk, supposed to be the genius, the orchestrator of this franchise, you let him walk. Go to the New York Mets. They're a shit show. You're still thriving. It doesn't even matter who's in the building, who's picking the players, who's in the front office. It doesn't matter. You just throw on a Brewers jersey, you walk into the Brewers building, you're a star. You're going to win. It doesn't matter who you are. So trade him. And if that does end, you still trade him. Because you got to capitalize on this year. Because if it's going to end, then you're not going to have the second most wins in baseball on July 9th next year. Because eventually this is going to fiddle out. And you're going to have to actually spend money. So whichever it's got to be one of those two. And whichever one it is, the same summation, the same conclusion to me is to trade for Tarik Skubal. Could you imagine a rotation of Jacob Mizrowski and Tarik Skubal? I mean, you're up 2-0 immediately. Could you imagine that? Who is scoring? So, two just polar opposite franchises, two teams that deal within their franchise completely different, right? One team spends an enormous amount of money, an exorbitant amount of money. The other team does not spend, but I think both should be all in on Tarik Skubal for polar opposite different reasons as well. But I think it makes tremendous sense for both, as I just highlighted. And I think it's plausible for either of them. Because as I mentioned at the top, I think it's almost a sure thing. It doesn't matter that Tigers have won 6-7. They're on a 3-game winning streak. They're only 5 games back, a third wild card. So fuck cares. I think they're still going to trade him, and they should. It's the prudent move. So with that said, I think these two teams should be 1A and 1B fighting for him. I think if either of these teams get, specifically the Yankees, if the Yankees get Tarik Skubal, they're winning the American League. I don't care about the race. They have 3 hitters, and it falls off a cliff after that. Victor Mesa hitting 4th. Cedric Mullins hitting 4th. Yeah, Junior Caminero is phenomenal. He's 11 home runs in 12 games. Jonathan Aranda is great. Yandy Diaz continues to hit 300 every year. But other than that, that lineup, could you imagine Tarik Skubal, Garrett Cole, Cam Slitler, Max Fried facing that lineup? Good God. Are the Yankees going to... It's time to go all in. You're not going to have Aaron Judge producing at this level forever. You know? Brewers, come on, make a big splash. Make CC, pick up the phone. You just inducted CC in your Hall of Fame. Gave him a banner. Be reminiscent of that move entirely. Turn back the clock a decade. Make the move. All right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time for episode 3 on another spiel on the Major League Baseball trade deadline. We'll see you.